along the way. Right then, so the first map between joe1244 from Deities of Death and Double Red Viper from Angels of Death, so Deities of Death against Angels of Death, is going to be on Highland, which is quite an unusual map as it is removed from the wobbly balance patches, as players don't really like it to play in 1v1s, as it's kinda sometimes unfair because of the fish placement in the middle, and of course the bears. There are always problems with those. But in here, in the No Patch tournament, you are yet again going to see this quite special, and I kinda like this map, to be honest, myself, in play yet again. The gods are going to be for Joe, is going to be set. I'm gonna have a look at my notes that I've made, and as for Joe, he is actually an ISIS main, so he is pretty skilled with Egyptians, and switching into set, kinda understandable, because on the No Patch set is, well, I wouldn't really say strictly stronger than ISIS, but he is pretty good with his aggressive abilities and whatnot. And against them will be staying Devil Red Viper with Loki, and he doesn't play literally anything else than Loki. So yeah, that's his main god, and that's the god that he is going to be playing. So let's start with the game then. Right, so Devil Red Viper is going to the right side, trying to see what is going to be in there, and well, that's vision right at the start, and that's because Joe wants to see how is it looking in the middle with the waters, I mean the fishies, and where he should be building a dock. You can already see that he's moving in. He was going for the granary right off the bat, but right now moving with one back, as he needs the extra hunt for the food, because obviously it's quite a long way to go for the docks, and it's not going to be all that easy. Oh, no, you don't want to go in the middle. You don't want to go in here especially, but he is actually quite nicely guessing where his opponent is going to go with this Ulfsark, and you can see that the Red Viper is actually not all that aware what's going to happen, and that he was actually docking at a small pond, and that's more of a save than actually some kind of damage from Joe, because Joe was hoping that he can stop his opponent, but it actually helped him, because if he finished the dock in the middle pond with just 1/3 of the fishies here, yeah, you would be terribly disappointed, the Red Viper, so that was quite decent help in here. At the same time though, Joe is finishing with the left side, so he is going to be happy with 2, and is that 3? 4, actually 4. That's pretty sweet for him. 4 fishies in here, whereas Viper has just finished on the right, and he's going to be having also 4. Okay, so that's kind of equal, but it's slightly better for the red player, because the pond on the right is shorter, which means you'll be needing less dogs, but at the same time, with the ability of Egyptians to actually spam dogs, it's probably not going to be all that brutal. So the middle dock is probably not going to be finished. But I'm really liking this spy that has been cast a lot earlier by the Red Viper, because this will basically allow him to see what's going to happen with shifting sands in the classical age. And that's going to be very important, because that's the part of the map and of the game that is pretty crucial, especially against Norse, as Norse are heavily abusable by well-placed shifting sands. So let's see about that. Otherwise then, let's have a look around the map for Devil Red Viper. He has already discovered some safe gold at the very back, and one in the forefront, but he doesn't know about town center placements yet, so let's take a guessing game. My first guess, there is the one town center, and second one, I'm guessing here. So let's see. Well, I was right with this one, but the one at the bottom, well, that's definitely one I did not expect, and that's as safe as it can be. So there's absolutely no way that it's going to get stolen. Whereas on the left, there's just a big nothingness, just 1 gold, and that's pretty much it. Same town center placement basically for the opponent, for Joe, so not really anything bad, and he will be quite happy about this as an Egyptian, as it will allow him to boom if the early aggression is not going to end into anything nice. In the meantime though, as I said, he's of course stealing a bit of animals from the nature to help in his cause, and well, you can already see that Devil Red Viper is attempting to basically go on for full water offensive, it seems, as he's docking on the left as well. Yeah, this boar is annoying, but well, yeah, right now he's going back, so he was quite nicely microing. But with the priest coming in here, that's going to be a bit problematic, because obviously the bear is pretty strong, as the Ulfsark and the Skraeling are not really all that strong in the archaic age, and with the extra help from the animals, he actually won't be able to finish, so nicely scouted by Joe. Well, it wasn't probably all that hard. I'll be fully expecting that he actually has a line of sight in there through the dock. Well, quite of course. Quite of course, it would have been quite nicely seen for him, and unfortunately for Devil Red Viper, he's going to be needing to wait a bit for the harassment on the water on the left. But we have already seen that he's probably going to be attempting exactly that. In the meantime, he is switching into dock, into temple, of course. So he's going to be advancing at like 5:30. That's quite late, but since we are on water map, and an unusual one, so players maybe don't exactly know what to do, it's kinda expected to be expected, but at the same time it's going to be even slightly later than Joe, it seems. We'll be clicking just about now into like 5:20, or not, because he needs to finish with the villager. But it's still going to be quite interesting for him, because looking at the fishing spots in here, we see 3, 6, we see already 8 fishing boats on the left. It's 9th in the making. Whereas on the right side, the North player is having just 6. He's having just 6. And it might be because he was trying to build the second dock in here, so that's a lot of wood, obviously. That's just 120 wood, which is like 2 fishing boats. And that's definitely something that will be slowing him down. And Joe, as an Egyptian, should be having battery economy in the early classical age. So here's it up. Probably hoping that he can actually finish with the dock sometime soon, I would be expecting. And let's have a look if some economy upgrades are actually happening from the set player in here. So far not, and we don't even see anything being upgraded. It's kinda interesting. Whereas for Red Viper, nothing yet, but we already see Hendaks at least. And is there a pickaxe? Not yet. But I would be expecting that that might be coming in sometime later. But at the same time, he probably wants to advance and build at least one boat, either from here or on the right side, basically for a defense. And we'll see if that's going to be viable. So this guy is going for 15 cents, quite assuredly. We'll be trying to, yep, steal exactly this. Here we go. So that's 3 villages dead, Oxcar dead, and that was quite early, right there. Nicely building just at least the basements in here, because obviously he was wanting to stop any kind of attempt at retreat of those villagers and the Oxcar, so that was exactly the reason for that. And this is really putting the Norse on a back foot quite strongly, and let's see if we can actually deal with this. So far he is finishing with the dock on the left, so potentially he can actually pump some extra boats if he is of the mind, but it doesn't really seem so all that much. Whereas in here he's just trying to find the extra ones on the right, and he doesn't see them. Oh, you need to go a bit further. Come on, there's a lot of fishes for you already with the upgrade, as you can see, per sane. That's pretty much it, and let's have a look in the middle, where of course, since Devil Red Viper was going for Hersiers from the very start as a Loki, I'll be long tosser. Alright, he is already putting a bit of pressure at least on his opponent, and since he has very nicely placed the spy on the Pharaoh, he knows exactly where the bulk of the economy is, knows where to potentially raid. Alright, now moving to the left, because he will be trying to put the opponent out of the water, but he needs to be careful. He needs to build some extra boats, some long boats, exactly like this, it's the docks, and then, when he has enough army, both on the water and on the land, he will be probably making another attempt on the docks and attempting stop any advantage on the water that Joe might be having just now. So finishing with the dock, at least in the middle, because it's kind of worth it for the 3 fishies if you have the resources. But I'm not exactly positive that he has the resources, because he's almost housed. So he needs a lot of food right now. And he's having kinda inadequate economy, I would be saying. If he wants to push on the water and has auto queue on his dock, well, he definitely needs to put up something extra. And even though he does have Endux from the start, it's, well, quite possibly not enough so far. There's a villager and of course also an armory, so that's going to be a heroic age from Joe. He's also having shaft mine already, so that's going to be a lot of gold for him. Whereas there's the first major encounter in here, and of course you can see that Joe is already prepared through the double barracks and is having a decent amount of axemen, which is a problem for Devil Red Viper, as he is obviously having just Hersters and unfortunately didn't get any mythical spawn yet, and that might be because he was housed. He was probably just now finishing with the house in here, but he's also switching Raiding Cavalry, which is just as well, and this is just storm waiting to happen in the docks on the left. Equal on the score, just 1 point difference. Whereas on the right he hasn't found the fishes yet. That's curious. That is really curious indeed. And waiting with just 4 cabinets, with one of them almost dead, well, that's definitely not going to be enough when all of these eject together with the Hersters and the Raiding Cavalry at the same time. So I'm going to switch into the blue player because he right now is also having second town center and is definitely saving up, looking at the resources, 500 food, 500 gold for the heroic age. And that means that the Red Viper should be really careful. A lot of gold inside the base for the Egyptian. That's literally a ton of gold. This is reasonably safe for him as well if he was carefully. And really, he doesn't need to worry about all that much, because once he captures this TC and places market about here and reasonably walls, that's going to be a very, very sweet trade route for him, and he will be quite happy for the majority and the rest of the game overall. But first heroic age is coming from the Red Viper, who is just now advancing into Battle Boars, of course. And he's casting Healing Spring in the middle. Well, that basically is telling you that he is not aiming to relinquish the part of the map behind this point. So he's definitely hoping that he can conquer or somehow protect both of these choke points. Well, he should definitely wall at least the one on the right that he's controlling. The one on the left is a bit more problematic because of the boats, but not really for much longer. And once he has decent army, which means a decent amount of boars, well, that's of course going to be a good army to finally get rid of all of this nonsense on the left. So upgrade into medium raiders together with copper mail on top of that. That's pretty nice to see. You already see cabinets coming in, and that's going to be probably an ejection of all the long houses or the long boats from here. So I would be fully expecting that that could be happening, but probably quite cleverly waited for the Leviathan, as it would be wrecking his army right about now. And it's going to be quite tough, because once Joe actually realizes that he is having this very strong... Oh, he actually doesn't want it. That's a weird decision. That's a weird decision right there, because he at least could have used it against Dog. But this is telling me that he actually doesn't realize that there's potentially a threat in Dog, exactly like this. Right now, I'm pretty sure, Joe, that you would very much like to have the Leviathan. But you don't. Well, decisions. And the consequences are this. Losing the water quite easily. So but that's very nicely played by Devil Red Viper. And this is pretty much the end of it on the water for Joe, because I don't expect that he will be able to come back from this. With the hammer ships in here, the Drakars being ready for the war barges coming out, let's have a look on the land battle. With pretty decent army from both sides, and with the flaming weapons coming in from Devil Red Viper, that's quite early actually. Quite early going for the trigger. But he definitely wants to stop the Migral and extra barracks and siege works and whatnot nonsense. You can see that he's forcing Joe into a bit more defensive position, but yet again, with the gold in here, gold inside his base and one on the left, he's still quite happy and doesn't really need to push out all this soon. So let's see if this wasn't maybe a bit of an overreaction, but yeah, it was worth it. He did put the opponent out of the play and make it hard for him to actually finish with the Igdol, which is not getting finished. That's weird. Has actually Joe lost the Pharaoh? It really seems so, because I don't see him anywhere. And with the Pharaoh, he should definitely be finishing it quite easily. Well, right now. He needs to kill it. Come on, that's almost there. Oh, well. But with 100 hit points, oh, that's going to be easily killed. It's going to be easily killed if Joe isn't actually going to repair it, which I don't think that he really will. It's going to be quite slow because he cannot afford to not gather any gold for so much longer. But that was, oh well, that was super close. That was actually down for Devil Red Viper. If he wasn't retreated faster than he actually should have. That was quite close, and at this time, unfortunate for Devil Red Viper. Let's have a look back at the water, where the situation is pretty much contained. Yeah, there's not anything much happening from Joe, even though he is not entirely giving up. But you can see that he has upgraded into Self Amphora, and I'm kinda thinking that's going to be wasted resources right there, because this army without any reinforcements is not going to be enough. I'm going to switch into Devil, because he might be actually attempting to jump into the Mythic, which he definitely will with the market right path here. And with the army being in pretty decent numbers right now, trying to house his opponent as much as he can, basically just stalling him right now. That's not much else happening in here. Going for a 30C. It's still not assuredly one for Devil Red Viper at all, even though he will be clicking into the Mythic Age just about now, as he is missing just 80 good for the advance, right now 10. So what's it going to be? Of course, hell. He should really put some extra thought into trying to wall in, because he should be expecting some kind of pressure from his opponent reasonably soon, especially because of the second town center and better economy overall for Joe. Having husbandry, irrigation, shadow and shaft mine, whereas his opponent is aiming for a TC, it seems. Yep, that's a second TC, or rather, yeah, second TC for him. Whereas in the economy he's having just Zendax. Well, he definitely needs to put up something extra, otherwise it's not going to work out all that much for him. And as we're talking about it, pickaxe, and oh, he's actually housed. Devil Red Viper is housed, he's missing one house. I'm not exactly sure if he has somehow missed it or whatever, but he definitely isn't up to par in here and needs to be super careful, because the trade route is already being prepared on the left from Joe into the back TC, of course, as he just now finished, and he will be advancing into the Mythic, I think, also reasonably soon, as he is trying to protect the gold in the middle and overall basically the way inside his own base. Tuning to Joe, he is also advancing to Thoth, of course. Let's have a look at the military upgrades in the meantime. Just medium from Joe, whereas Devil Red Viper is having, wow, bronze mail actually. Oh, that's pretty decent. Of course, against those axemen. And, oh well, he doesn't have the army nearby. Well, he does nearby, but it's not really strong. And I'm slightly worried that it might not be enough, especially since you can see that Joe is still having the ancestors and he's moving inside the home base, I think, because of the meteors coming in. Let's see about that. And the dog, fortunately, right amidst 3 priests in here. So you can see how quickly he's actually dying. But oh, this is pretty nice attack from the side from the Red Viper. And since he's sending some extra reinforcements, he might be just fine. Because if he can get rid of the pesky priest, he will be quite fine, because he doesn't have anything substantial against the Nidhogg in here. And Nidhogg could be quite strong in this battle, and he definitely is proving exactly that. So with the army at one place for the Red Viper, the problem is suddenly not there because of the mythical god power. So even though this was a quite nice attack from Joe all the time for the meteors, he unfortunately couldn't manage to be there fast enough. So right now he is forced into defensive. At least he has though. Oh, he's also pretty terribly housed. He's just now finished with the Migdol, but he is horribly housed, to be honest. Because he's at 115, and obviously he has 3 town centers. He doesn't have fortified yet, so it seems that he's missing like 25, or how much, or whatever. He's missing like 2-3 houses. Missing like 2-3 houses, which is pretty bad for him. 145, okay, 3 houses. Houses he's missing, and right now he is actually forced into defensive ancestors as well, and that's going to buy him enough time, because I think if he can produce enough priests right about now, he's going to be able to kill the Nidhogg, and the Nidhogg is the biggest problem. Oh, scratch that. Not anymore, not anymore. We are seeing the barrage from the 5-5 giants together with the 3 boars and the Nidhogg. Oh my, this is some mythical army. Well, this is so sweet to see. This is so nice to see. Mythical units actually beating an egg, but he needs to be careful because the number of priests is getting up, and once the tank that Nidhogg actually is with his 2000 hit points is dead, it's going to be time for the boars and of course for the fire giants in here as well. But he has been able to take down the very crucial Migdol, which is putting a dent in Joe's plans quite strongly, and Joe should be really picking up his game, and I'm fully confident that it's because he's housed. I don't see anywhere any houses being built from him. He's absolutely oblivious to the fact that he is missing 3 houses. And he's basically playing with handicap right now. And even a super handicap because he's having a turtle in here. That's another 5 pop not used. That could be doing anything at all, but he's obviously unaware of it. And even though he was aware quite well of the Leviathan a bit earlier, right now this is kind of sad. Because he's totally forgotten about the fact that he doesn't have the population, and it's also wasted in here. He's missing 35 pop. He was missing 35 pop for nothing. That's absolutely brutal. So he was, of course, even though he was having 3 TCs against 2, he was effectively fighting as if he was having just 1 town center. That's the point where he actually lost so easily, because if he didn't, I'm super sure that he would be having a whole lot extra units, especially from the Migdols and the Priests as well, because look at these huge resources. 2000 food, 1400 wood, and 1000 gold. That's just awesome resources for any kind of army. He's having just copper mail right about now. And, well, unfortunately, that's pretty much it. On the Priests, he's having funeral rites, of course. But looking at the upgrades on Devil Red Viper for the Fire Giants, and on the Hersers, I'm fully expecting something extra. Bronze weapons, of course, to complement the bronze mail. He's right now attempting to steal a TC from Joe, and it doesn't seem like that actually Joe will be able to do anything against that. And finally, Joe is seeing that he's housed, and he's right now rebuilding the houses at the back somewhere, it seems. But he is also forced to cast defensive meteors, basically to prevent this town center to fall into the enemy hands, which is of course quite important. Oh, that was unlucky. That was unlucky friendly fire. Yeah, that was 1 barracks and something else I think that died as well. Probably just mining camp, but at the same time it didn't really do a whole lot. It just bought him a bit of time. But since he doesn't have right now the military buildings to pump out units as fast as he would have hoped and wanted and liked, it's probably going to be still quite easy for Devil Red Viper to control the situation, especially if he can keep the Fire Giants alive, which he seems he can, even without, or rather against, the Priests and the Menace the Third. So we can basically consider this town center to be his. Ah, these are the extra houses. The 3, the 2 and 1 somewhere extra, I think. That's going to be built somewhere, I don't know where, doesn't really matter. But you can also see that Joe is right now switching into towers, which is... oh, actually not. That's just monument. I was thinking that he actually might be going for towers, but he needs extra gold for that. But he can sell something through the market. He definitely doesn't need all this much food. Yeah, that's not really needed. He needs to switch to somewhere else. Because he even doesn't have the Migdol or the Chariot Archers and whatnot. And the Red Viper is right now capturing the 4th TC. Alright, the 3rd. Oh well, that's just a 3rd, because the 4th is right now being built. Yeah, he hasn't even captured the one at the very back. And well, there's a bit of raiding, quite nicely played by Devil Red Viper on the left. And this gold is not going to be safe for you. That was right on the edge of the line of sight. And nope. Nope. This is not going to work. And you could be getting a lucky mythical spawn, because he's dropping in population. Exactly. Getting the troll in here. And that's... oh well. That hurts obviously. Right next to the relic for unit line of sight. Which is not needed anymore, of course. And a boar on top of that. Oh well. Well. That's not good at all. But in the meantime, in the base of blue, the situation is getting kinda dire. And it doesn't really seem like that, especially with the mythical spawns in here, even with the towers that have been built, at least the one has been built right about now, it's probably not going to be enough as with all those Fire Giants, without any kind of opposition. Yep, they are going to be taking down all the buildings in here, and right now even the villagers. If they actually target correct buildings, because right now they are kinda fire at will, basically doing whatever they want. But it doesn't seem like it's really going to matter all that much. All he really needs to do is get rid of the temple first, because that's the most threatening building together with town centers, producing the priests and whatnot. But it seems like the situation is quite strongly in the Red Viper's hands, and you can see that Joe is right now in a bit of a desperation mood going for Titans, but he has literally nowhere to actually build it, as he is being raided at the very back as well. He was attempting to wall up in there at the back, hoping that he can place Titan Gate at the back in there, defend it for some time longer, but with the huge amount of siege in the Fire Giants, and of course was pretty good in taking out buildings as well. That's probably not going to happen, it seems like, but are still in the game, as Joe is having one town center, and he is still having the market on the left. Well, not for much longer apparently, as we are looking in there. And without the market right now, Joe even can't help himself, as he could be potentially selling some resources, but it seems like that he has already sold absolutely everything. So yep, let's see if he can at least finish with the Secrets of the Titans, and he is hoping that he can somehow haul himself in and survive long enough with the Pharaoh, the leader of his people, and as the fourth. And he hopes could be the actually winning god, or rather winning Pharaoh in here. Yeah, probably not going to happen. But that was quite an interesting game actually. And if it wasn't for the fact, well, still the turtle in the end, if it wasn't for the fact that through the crucial part of the game, through the most crucial part of the game, Joe was playing with 3 houses left, or rather less, and 5 population limit wasted in the turtle. So he was like at 115 population, and he should have been 145. Well, if it wasn't for that, I'm reasonably sure the game would have went a whole lot differently, because he was set up quite nicely with all the gold that he had on his part of the map. Yep, he definitely had a pretty good chance. But that did not happen, and the Red Viper punished it mercilessly. And he has also won in almost everything, just not in improvements. I think that's going to be because of the economy improvements in there. Nice food, wood, and gold for the Red Viper. Even more gold for Red Viper than for the Egyptian. That's interesting. It usually doesn't happen, even when the Egyptian loses. Oh, that's nice. 122 to 111. Upgrade times, well, significantly similar actually. 4 seconds apart. This is almost a minute apart. 5 seconds, and this is 17 seconds apart. Well, they were really copying each other in there. That's interesting to see. Well, GG, and let's have a look at the second game.